All right, this is 20 minutes of love for your legs. So we're just gonna work our way up from the ground. We're gonna start right away in toes pose. So this is actually a little love for your feet first, but it's also a nice stretch for the knees. And you're gonna wanna basically be sitting like I am. And you can just take this pose if you would prefer. Otherwise, we're gonna tuck all 10 toes under. Spread the toes so each toe makes contact with the mat. It's gonna stretch our toes, stretch the bottoms of our feet, and it's gonna stretch our ankles. Little stretch for the quads and the knees. So getting right into it. We'll do our breath work here. You really do need to work with the breath to hold toes pose. It gets pretty intense pretty quickly. So go ahead and rest the hands on the legs and close the eyes. 3 breaths. Open the eyes. If you can continue to hold toes pose, please do. Otherwise, you can come onto the tops of the feet. And we're just gonna do a little neck stretch here. So continue to keep your nice long spine. And then just take that right ear to the right shoulder. Option to take the hand to the top of the head. Inhale. Exhale. And release. And switch sides, left ear to left shoulder, optional, left hand to the top of the head, inhale, exhale, and come back to center, lift both arms up overhead, interlace the fingers, flip the hands, reach the hands all the way up, and then take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, and just take a chest expansion. Hang in there with the feet if you can. And release. So go ahead and come off of the toes. Come forward, plant your hands, and then just give your toes, your feet a little shake. That blood rushing back in there. If you have healthy ankles, feel free to now sit on top, the tops of your feet flat to the floor, and then just gently rock back. Not too far, just a little stretch for the fronts of the legs. And release. Come all the way down onto your seat. And then we're gonna take a seated twist here. So go ahead and plant that right foot up and over the left. Try to get the sitting bones grounded onto the floor. Take that right hand out behind, left arm up and over. And then hook the elbow to the outside of the knee, twist from the base of the spine, look out over the right shoulder, take another breath here. Release. We always want to get that spine nice and warm in all of our yoga classes, so let's take a twist in the opposite direction. Left foot up and over the right knee, left hand out behind, right arm up. Hook the elbow to the outside of the left knee. Look out over the shoulder. It's very humid and buggy here in Costa Rica right now. Complete the exhale. And release back to center. Go ahead and bring the soles of both feet together to touch for butterfly pose. And as always in all of these seated poses, if the hips are tight, feel free to sit on a block or a book. Take the hands onto the ankles, reach through the crown of the head. A nice tall spine, we're gonna hinge forward at the hips. Option to take those elbows onto the knees and then gently press the knees toward the floor. Continue to keep the head in line with the spine as we hinge forward. Getting into the hips, getting into the inner thighs. And one more breath here. Feel free to just release the forehead down toward the toes. Take a gentle rounding of the spine. Inhale. Exhale. And come all the way back up. Extend both legs straight out in front for Paschimottanasana or seated forward fold. Just rock back and forth so that you feel the sitting bones make contact with the ground. Keep the feet in line with the hips. Flex the toes back toward the face so that the quadriceps, the tops of the legs, are nice and engaged. Reach both arms up overhead and hinge forward at the hips. We're going to reach toward the feet. Maybe the hands come onto the thighs, maybe the shins, maybe they reach the feet. And look toward the toes and reach the forehead toward the toes wherever we are. Release from the fold, come all the way up. And we're going to take seated straddle splits to get into the inner thighs. So we're just going to take our feet both out to an angle. We're going to take the knees and the toes and face them up toward the ceiling. Okay, so again, we want the sitting bones grounded on the floor. You can always be sitting propped up on a block here. And if your straddle looks like this, that's fine, okay? So we're just working into the inner thighs and the hips here. We're going to keep the head in line with the spine, so stay nice and lifted, and then we can start to walk the hands forward. Continue to breathe deeply in and out through the nose. And if you feel the feet falling forward, just reactivate the legs, point those toes up, point the knees up. Last breath in seated straddle splits. Walk the hands back up. We're going to take the left foot to meet the right inner thigh. It's going to be a nice hamstring stretch here. So face the shoulders toward the right toes. Reach the arms up overhead and then reach the hands toward the foot. Again, that might be the top of the leg or the calf. Try to draw those elbows in toward the leg and release the forehead toward the knee. Release from the fold, and we'll switch sides. So extend the left leg to an angle, right foot to left inner thigh. Face the shoulders toward the left toes, reach the arms up overhead, and reach the hands toward the feet as we hinge forward from the hips. So draw the elbows in toward the calf and release the forehead toward the knee. Okay, so we're moving in this direction. Your pose might look a little bit different, that's fine. Okay, just a nice stretch for the hamstring. You should feel it in the low back as well. And release. All right, we're going to take a stretch now for the knees and the quadriceps, the tops of our legs. This is called hero pose. Once again, if needed, feel free to sit on a block. So bring the knees to touch, separate the feet toward the edges of the mat, roll the calves out of the way, and then sit the hips between the heels or onto a block. Try to keep the head in line with the spine. So if we need to back off the seat to keep a nice tall spine, please do so. Try to avoid hunching or slouching, okay? Then if the knees are pretty open, the quadriceps are open, and you want to take this a little bit deeper, feel free to walk the hands back and come onto the elbows, possibly onto the back, if you'd like. And I really don't want to do that today because my knees are feeling tight, so I'm going to stay right here. But feel free to go all the way down onto the back, and then if you are on the back, you can even reach the arms up overhead, maybe take opposite hand toward opposite elbow. Okay, take another breath. And slowly, all the way up out of it. All right, we are going to take a downward facing dog today because I feel that this is the most, or the best way to stretch out the calves. So go ahead and come forward. You can give your legs a little bit of a wiggle and a shake on the way, or you can just step back to down dog and wiggle them there. Nice release for the knees coming out of that pose. Right, so find a nice long downward facing dog. You can check in with the length of your downward facing dog by coming forward to plank and then finding alignment in plank with the shoulders over the wrists and the feet in line with the hips, and then press back, downward facing dog. So we're gonna start pressing the heels toward the floor, and then you can find a bit of a pedal action in the legs, so just going back and forth, and with each pedal maybe the heel comes a little bit closer to the floor, so really emphasizing the stretch on the calves. Feels really, really good. And then press both heels down. And we're going to lift the heels and lower the heels. Lift, lower. Lift and take both heels to the right. And come back to center. Both heels to the left. Back to center. And release. And we're going to take a hip stretch with half pigeon pose. So lift that right leg off the floor and come forward to half pigeon. That right knee is going to come toward the right wrist, right foot toward the left wrist. Good. Just move around. Make sure that you feel a stretch back here in the glute, hip. So if we're feeling particularly tight today, you can bring that right foot in. If we're feeling a little more open, you can work the right shin toward parallel with the front of the mat. And then you can start to come down. Five breaths here. Back up onto the hands, and then we're going to add a quadriceps stretch to our pigeon. So go ahead and bend that left leg, take the foot from the inside, and then just start to gently pull the foot in. Maybe the foot comes into the crook of the elbow, or maybe we just hold it You can also hold it from the outside as well, just depending on what feels like the comfortable edge of the stretch in your body. Gently release that left foot to the floor. And we're going to slide the left leg around, and we're going to stack that left knee on top of the right knee for cow face legs. So to the best of our ability, we want to ground through the sitting bones. Okay, so both sitting bones on the ground. If that's a little bit hard with the legs stacked like this, again, block, or you can have that knee facing up. Once again, just like in pigeon pose, depending on the tightness in the hips, we might want to be bringing those feet back toward the hips. If you feel a little more open, you can start working the shins closer to parallel with the front of the mat. Okay, and then we're not going to take cow face arms today. Of course, you're welcome to if you'd like to. We're going to take a forward fold. So just start to walk the hands forward. And we can drape the chin over the knee, possibly. Release. Uncross the legs, come back to down dog just in preparation for half pigeon on the other side. So we're gonna, very large, well, not very large, spider on my mat, left leg high, and half pigeon on the other side. Make the same adjustments on this side, although this side might be different. So if the hip is tight, bring that heel a little bit closer in. If the hip is pretty open, work the shin closer to parallel with the front of the mat. This side's a little tighter for me, so yeah, just be okay with the imbalances in our body that are very, very common. And then go ahead and come all the way down and hold here for 5 breaths. Back up onto the hands. Let's add the quadriceps stretch to our pigeon. So bending the right leg, taking that left or the right hand to the inside of the right foot. We're just working that heel toward the hip, maybe the foot toward the crook of the elbow, tighter side. Last breath. Gently release the right leg and slide that right leg around, stack on top of the left to the best of our ability. Work toward grounding the sitting bones either on the mat or a block. Same thing this side. You can draw the heels toward the hips, or we can work the shins closer to parallel with the front of the mat. And then very gently start to walk the hands forward. Complete the exhale. Walk the hands back up. Slowly lower down onto the back. Hug the knees into the chest. And Shavasana. Release the legs long, let the feet fall open, arms by the side, palms face up. Go of the breath. Just come into a relaxed, resting place. Please stay in Shavasana as long as you have time for. Thank you for joining me for class today. Today, as you go forward, may you have peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, peace in your heart. Namaste.